The dawn of June 1778 crept slowly over the rolling fields of Monmouth County, New Jersey. The air carried the sharp scent of damp soil mixed with the fading ghost of gunpowder from the night before. Private Nathaniel Cooper stood still on the edge of the Continental encampment, boots darkened by the dew. His musket rested against his shoulder, the barrel cold as iron. At 22, his face bore the lines of a man aged by war. Inside his breast pocket lay a letter, folded, creased, and stained with tears. It spoke of his farm, burned, his father slain at the threshold. It was not orders that kept him standing this morning, but the weight of those words pressing against his heart. "Cooper, eyes forward." Sergeant Miller's voice cut through the mist like a musket crack. Men hurried past, shouldering packs and murmuring of the orders just received. The British, retreating from Philadelphia, were marching north. Washington wanted them harried, slowed, forced to fight. The road led toward Monmouth, and the day promised blood. Miller paused near Nathaniel. "This will be hard ground," he said. "Keep your head, lad. Vengeance won't steady your aim." Nathaniel gave a curt nod, saying nothing. Every order sounded now like a path, every step a march not toward glory, but toward reckoning. That night the army rested near Freehold. Fires flickered low, their smoke carrying the bitter scent of charred rations and damp wool. Around one flame, Nathaniel sat with Ellis from Pennsylvania, Hale from Connecticut, and the Carter brothers, quiet men with the same haunted eyes. The talk was of home, fields left untended, families scattered, hopes turned to ash. Ellis poked the coals. "You got someone waiting for you, Cooper?" Nathaniel's jaw tightened. His hand touched the letter in his coat. "No one left to wait," he murmured. The others fell silent, the night wind filling the space where comfort might have been. The stars burned pale above the silent camp. Nathaniel paced the edge of the picket line, musket in hand, boots soft on the grass. The darkness beyond was thick, broken only by the faint sway of trees. Every sound seemed like a footstep, every branch like a figure. He thought of his father, a stubborn man who believed a farm could stand against an empire. Now only ashes marked that defiance. Nathaniel looked up at the cold moon. "I will find them," he whispered, the words lost to the wind. Somewhere ahead, the enemy marched, and the earth waited for blood. At first light, the camp came alive with clattering gear and low curses. Drums rattled. Horses snorted in the mist. Nathaniel tightened his belt and fell in line. The path wound eastward through fields of rye and wildflowers, but no man noticed their beauty. The summer sun climbed higher, promising a day of sweat and thirst. Rumors spread like wildfire. The British column was close, their baggage heavy, their rear guard slow. Nathaniel gripped his musket until his knuckles whitened. Each step jolted the letter in his pocket. Each mile carried him closer. To Monmouth, to the enemy, to a debt unpaid. The morning sun climbed fast, turning the fields into a shimmering sea of gold and dust. Sweat soaked the collars of the Continental soldiers long before the drums called them forward. Nathaniel wiped his brow with a sleeve darkened by yesterday's grime. Somewhere ahead, beyond the orchards and low hills, the British rear guard was on the move. Orders came sharp. Advance, form ranks, be ready to strike when the signal rose. Nathaniel felt the air grow heavy, not only with heat, but with the weight of what was coming, a battle that might last a lifetime in memory. The column stretched for miles, men muttering beneath their breath as they trudged through the rising heat. "Monmouth will be the turning point," said Hale, adjusting his bayonet strap. Ellis spat into the dust. "Turning point or graveyard, we'll see." Nathaniel kept his gaze forward. The letter in his pocket burned like a coal. He had heard a name in the passing whispers. Captain Hargreaves, a British officer rumored to lead raids on the Jersey countryside. The syllables stuck in his mind like a burr. Could it be the same man who had brought fire to his home? He clenched his jaw. By noon, the air was alive with the smell of trampled grass and distant powder. A sudden crack rang out from the tree line, followed by another. Musket balls hissed over the fields. "Line up! Forward! Keep steady!" officers cried. Their voices nearly drowned by the drumming heat. Nathaniel fumbled with his cartridge, fingers slick with sweat, powder staining his palms. The first wave of redcoats emerged like ghosts through the haze. Their scarlet coats burning against the pale fields. The world shrank to a line of muskets, a shouted order, the deafening roar of the first volley. The heat grew monstrous as the hours dragged on. Men dropped from thirst, their lips cracked, their uniforms clinging like wet hide. The air shimmered, turning the battlefield into a furnace. Nathaniel fired, reloaded, fired again, his shoulder bruised raw by the recoil. The enemy line wavered, advanced, faltered. Drums pounded from both sides, mingling with the cries of the wounded. "Water!" someone rasped beside him, before collapsing face first into the grass. Nathaniel barely spared a glance. His thoughts were fixed on a single image, a rider with a scar on his cheek, somewhere beyond the smoke. Afternoon wore on, with neither side claiming the ground. Cannon belched smoke that clung low over the fields, like a poisonous fog. Nathaniel stumbled as the order to fall back reached their line. "Hold! Regroup at the orchard!" Miller's voice rasped through the chaos. Men scrambled, some crawling, some dragging comrades whose faces were pale as linen. Nathaniel gritted his teeth. The battle was not lost, but it was far from won. Each backward step felt like a betrayal of the letter he carried, the promise he had whispered beneath the cold moonlight. By dusk, the fields lay strewn with broken bodies and shattered arms. The heat relented only slightly, leaving behind the sickly stench of sweat and blood. Nathaniel moved among the fallen, searching not for friends, but for truth. "Did you see him?" he asked a fading British prisoner, kneeling beside him. "A captain, scarred cheek, led the raids?" The man blinked, lips dry. No answer came, only a rattle of breath as the life slipped out. The flies had already begun their work. Nathaniel's hands curled into fists. He would find no name here, only echoes. The sun bled into the horizon, casting long shadows over the scarred ground. Fires dotted the night like fallen stars. Groans carried on the still air. Nathaniel sat apart from the others, cleaning the black crust from his musket. Around him, the men spoke in low voices, their words tired, hollow. "We held," said Ellis, trying for hope. "Aye," murmured Hale, "but at what cost?" Nathaniel said nothing. The battle was done, but his war was not. He thought of the captain again. Hargreaves, a name unproven, a face half-remembered, a debt unpaid. Before dawn, the drums rattled once more. The British had slipped away in the night, leaving the field of Monmouth claimed by no man. Orders came to march east, to press the pursuit toward the coast. Nathaniel tightened the strap of his pack and rose. The letter in his pocket felt heavier than his musket. This march was not only for the flag now. It was for a farm that no longer stood, for a father buried in the ashes, for a name carried like a wound, somewhere ahead. The man responsible still rode, and Nathaniel would follow. The battlefield of Monmouth lay under a veil of night. Fires flickered weakly among the rows of tents, and the cries of the wounded mingled with the croak of unseen frogs. Nathaniel sat with his musket across his knees, fingers tracing the cold barrel. Victory had no taste here. The British had slipped away, leaving only scars on the land. Around him, men slept in uneven lines, their breaths ragged, their dreams loud. Somewhere in the dark, an owl called, and Nathaniel thought it sounded like a question left unanswered. Near midnight, a British deserter stumbled into the camp, clothes torn, hands raised in surrender. Guards dragged him toward the officer's tent. Nathaniel followed at a distance, his heart thudding. The man spoke of burned farms, of raids carried out to starve the rebel cause. His voice shook as he named a commander, Captain Hargreaves, tall, scar on his left cheek. The words hit Nathaniel like a musket ball. At last, a name with weight, a shadow with a face. The deserter begged for mercy. Nathaniel felt none. Later, by the dying light of a lantern, Nathaniel unfolded a blank sheet. "Mother," he wrote, though the ink felt foreign to the page. He paused, the pen trembling. She would never read this. She was already gone. Still, he wrote of the battle, of the heat, of the letter that burned in his pocket like a wound. The words came jagged, broken, torn between rage and duty. When he finished, he did not seal it. He folded it once, twice, and slid it into his coat with the others. A letter never meant to be sent. Come morning, the camp stirred with whispers. The British were marching for the coast, their fleet waiting at Sandy Hook. The pursuit would continue, but the men were worn thin, sunburned, blistered, parched. Ellis limped past Nathaniel, muttering, "Another march, another promise of glory." Sergeant Miller paused beside them. "This war eats time and lives," he said, "but it leaves debts unpaid. Don't go chasing ghosts, Cooper. We fight armies, not men." Nathaniel nodded, but his hand found the letter in his pocket. Ghosts had names now. As they marched, Nathaniel's mind wandered to the ruins of his farm. He could see the blackened posts, the empty field, the rifle leaning against the porch where his father fell. Each mile carried him closer to that memory, not away from it. The war had taken his home, but left him standing, and standing meant choosing what to do with the weight of survival. Around him, the army trudged eastward, a river of blue and gray coats beneath the punishing sun. But his road forked inward, towards something far more personal. At a wayside orchard, a captured wagon was searched. Crates of powder, sacks of flour, a list of officers scrawled in haste. Among the names, Nathaniel's eyes found it again. Hargreaves. The ink was sharp, recent. His pulse quickened. The captain was not a phantom after all. Somewhere ahead, perhaps only a day's march, he rode with the retreating column. Nathaniel's fingers closed around the paper until it crumpled. The army had its orders. He had his own. That night, under a starless sky, Nathaniel packed his gear with deliberate calm. He would march with the army, yes, but his eyes would search the shadows. His musket would wait for a single man. He whispered to the empty dark, "You took my blood. I will take your name from this earth." A breeze stirred the grass, carrying away the words like smoke. The moon did not answer. Dawn broke gray and heavy. Drums rolled, boots shuffled, and the Continental column snaked eastward once more. Nathaniel fell into step, a silent man among thousands. The war for independence raged around him, banners lifting in the wind. But beneath that flag, another war took root, quiet and sharp as a bayonet's edge. Somewhere in the march ahead, a scarred man rode free. For now,